spray that pesticide?
Or
Those ugly lines in the trees.
oh, those machine.
Yeah.
You can show the weed grass killer.
They keep coming back. So you told me the one that has the 4-month tree where it's not from trees. Right? They don't have that on Maui now. That's the
That one gone.
Oh.
But they use is the regular one.
There.
That's where they use.
I just gotta keep spraying it every time they sprout up. Okay. So is it best to wait till they like this or this or they like this?
No? As soon as they sprout like that, they sprout like that.
Oh, I can just pull them up. Some of them are hidden underneath, so I see them till they come up. But I don't understand how new sprouted stuff have stems that thick.
Yeah, once they come to that thick, the root goes down way down.
But same color.
What the girl?
I came last week and you were on the other island.
Yeah, right.
So you're getting out and about.
It's kind of crazy. I'm leaving tomorrow for Honolulu.
Oh, same kind of duties?
It's actually it's minister training. It's a retreat workshop. What? Okay, we're gonna go.
I want to say
Oh, thank you.
that's why I want to do it in person.
Thank you so much.
And thank you so much again. And what a wonderful time it was. And look forward to future.
Yeah, well, we just had a feast day last year. And the interfaith alliance. So there was like presenters from
Oh, gosh, I didn't know about that.
and then the Vietnamese Buddhists and the Vietnamese Buddhists and
Because I've been to the Baha'i Center in side there.
We have a he's training to be a minister with the universities and Unitarian universities. So they basically, everything is exactly. Yeah, they take everything. And so he came in with a non-religious spiritual. Yeah, so we kind of cool. And then there was a bunch of tables and this. Yeah, and so you can go like piece does or origami piece. It's much easier than the grains. And stuff like that.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Good morning, Emily.
Oh, thank you.
Ready to break live? You're welcome to join us.
I thought I went for just, thank you.
Okay, let me show you real quick. We changed the way things are set up. Once you start the music video, you can go back. But basically, so you want to go to this script is because
Can you show us again the video?
morning. Welcome to Makawao, Hongwanji, Dharma family. Please stand if you're able, and let's begin the service by singing the Dharma Tishaman together with top feet. Thank you. You may please be seated. You will now see the Dharma Gaushalakmita, which will be shown on the screen. Chanting will be followed by a quiet meditation.
With deep joy and gratitude.
place both feet flat on the ground. Sit up straight. Align your head, neck, shoulders, and back in a straight line that goes down to the floor. Place your hands comfortably in your lap. Now close your eyes and just breathe. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. As you breathe in, you'll feel energy filling your body. And as you breathe out, stress or worries in your mind just fade away. Just breathe. Sound of the gong will signal the end of our quiet meditation.
Everyone is welcome to offer an incense to the offering as an expression of gratitude for the Buddha. The offering of incense is an ancient way of purification of the mind and body, prepared to cure bad addictions. able. And let's sing the God that really loves you. The lyrics will be shown on the screen.
So live from Makawao, it's children's Dharma story time, starring Barkley the dog and Lucy the ladybug. Dot, the mysterious Dot baby. With special guest Green Snoopy and Kermit the Gosher from Yeehaw! Good morning. Hello, it's me, Barkley the dog. How y'all doing this fine Sunday morning? I'd like y'all to meet the love of my life, this here's Lucy Ladybug. Oh, good morning everyone. You're so lucky. Two things. We have a great story for you today. It's one of Sensei's favorites, but also there's a bunch of refreshments left over from Peace Day yesterday, so there's plenty of food. I hope you're hungry. Okay. Oh, well that sounds good. Let's just go now. What do you say? Oh, anybody there? Okay. Well, today's story is today's story time. Today's story time, brought to you by Uncle Gene H. Is If You Plant a Seed, Words and Paintings by Kadir Nelson. If You Plant a Seed, Words and Paintings by Kadir Nelson. If you plant a tomato seed, a carrot seed, and a cabbage seed, in time, with love and care, tomato, carrots, and cabbage plants will grow. If you plant a seed of selfishness in a very short time, it will grow and grow and grow into a heap of trouble. But if you plant a seed of kindness, in almost no time at all, the fruits of kindness will grow and grow and grow. And they are very, very And this book is dedicated for Amel, Aya, and Ali. I love you. Wow, wasn't that a great story? Oops, sorry. Wasn't that a great story? Oh, the kids, you're not supposed to see the hand talking. Oh, but that's okay. That's okay. Well, what did you think of the story today? Auntie Sharon, what did you like about the story? You selected it for this Sunday? Really? I loved it too. I think it's pretty obvious what the message of the story is, so we'll just let Sensei pretend like he knows what he's talking about. But that's okay. So, remember kids, you guys be good, okay?
But not too much.
But not too much, indeed. Very good. So, let's see. MC1 says, and now Dharma school students and children under the age of 11 are welcome to follow Auntie Sharon and Auntie Karen, who's smart, to the social hall, or are we just going out of here?
We'll just go up.
Okay, we'll just follow Sharon, Auntie Sharon, Auntie Karen. Okay. And everyone else, you're mine for the next 20 minutes. Okay, let's see if the other iPad is working. So, for the Dharma talk for the rest of us today, which is Peace Day, and if you missed it yesterday, we had a great gathering, maybe about 100 people. And we had representation from the Jewish community, the Catholic community, the Christian community, the Baha'i faith community, spiritual but not religious community as well. Also, mindfulness meditation. So one of my chaplain colleagues led us in the mindfulness meditation, the loving kindness meditation. There's many forms of it, but that's what I'm going to be talking about today, because the insight from the Buddhist perspective is that the only thing to hate is hate itself. So let's begin with the first verse of the loving kindness mantra. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. No. So these are the words of Gautama Buddha, the historical Buddha. And again, you can find this in the Pali canon. It's the Metta Sutta. And Metta is usually translated as something like loving kindness. So this is easy enough to do, right? We can all agree, may all beings be happy and well. But what if we change that line to, may people that I hate be happy and well. Right? May no harm or difficulties come to the people that I hate. May the people that I hate live in peace and harmony. So imagine if you have to do that. And that's what this Metta Sutta is supposed to force us to recognize. Right? It's easy to say, lovely, noble things like, may all beings be happy and well. But when it comes to people that we don't like, people that we hate, particularly people that we hate, it's very hard to say that. And yet, as Buddhists, we are supposed to be able to project metta to the people that we hate. So, let's put our hands together and bow our heads and reflect for a moment on the lives lost, the anguish of the loved ones left behind, and the fear and anxiety created by political violence and senseless shootings across the nation, as well as wars and conflict around it in the past days, weeks, and months. No. So as Buddhists, we stand against violence in all form, based on the truth of non-self, non-Atman. So truly recognizing the interconnected and interdependent nature of all life, and thus following the principle of ahimsa, or non-harm, to all life. So the Buddha taught that when we harm or cause harm to other living beings, that this karma, this action, inevitably, this reality inevitably ends up harming ourselves. So as Buddhists, we understand this truth, and we aspire to live this unrepeatable life,
we live in quote unquote the real world of 2025 in America. So in the real world, politicians, the media, the rich and powerful, social media influencers, whatever those are, seek to use human tragedy and suffering to advance political or profit or personal agendas, and just kind of ignore the very real human suffering. So we're taught to blame the other, right, for all of our problems and pain and anxiety and fears. So we're told to convince ourselves, we're the victims here. I'm the victim here. I'm the victim here. We're conditioned to think it's acceptable to discriminate against the other. They, whoever they are, they're the cause of all of our problems. All of my problems are caused by those people. And we're actually shown almost every day that it's quite profitable to promote hate the other, hate the other, hate the other. If you use any kind of social media, you're being exposed to a lot of messages like this. And so when politicians, when the media, when influencers are successful in causing us, right, to turn our hearts to the darkness of hate, right, which does exist in all human beings, born human, this feeling, this emotion, this thinking of hate exists in all of us. But that hate, once ignited, it burns inside of us, and it forces us away from the heart of compassion, and drives us into the heart of hate. The heart of hate. So hate is, one of the most powerful emotions and mental states that we as ordinary human beings can experience. And just as easily, because it's such an intense experience, we can easily become addicted to hate. And we can condition ourselves to respond to everything with hate. And this is what the media, this is what our political messaging, this is what we see. Every time I turn on my phone, there's all these messages. Hate the other, hate the other. It's not your fault, Garrett, it's their fault. And all of the problems of the world, the problems of the nation, the problems of the community, my problems, can all be blamed on somebody else. So we know, instinctively that addiction to hate is not going to be beneficial. It's not going to have good outcomes for our physical, mental, spiritual health. And yet, hate is compelling. It's alluring. It's enticing. So as Buddhists, we seek guidance in the Dharma. So Gautama Buddha, in the Dhammapada, this is verse number 5. Hatred does not cease through hatred at any time. Hatred ceases through love. This is an unalterable law. The words of Gautama Buddha in the Dhammapada, verse number 5. So the Buddha had this insight and was teaching this 2,500 years ago. So it's not like this insight is new. And the truth, to be summarized, right, that hate can only become overcome by love. Right? So if hate is the most intense, negative, emotional, psychological, mental state that we can be in, it is love that counteracts that. So it's the other side of the coin. So this is reality as it is. This is the Dharma. This is the truth. This is this law. It's undeniable from a logical perspective. Intuitively, we know it to be true. So again, this is 2,500 years ago, and this insight, this truth, finds expression in many languages, many cultures, and by many people. So, for example, the wisdom of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. No. So if we know this to be the truth, and I think we would all agree this is true, why do we continue to experience violence against the other? Because in the real world that we live in, that we're born into as human beings, this world of human confusion and delusion, hate is much easier than love. Love is hard. Love takes a lot of work. You have to shift, your entire mindset. It's much easier to give into the heart of hate. So in the real world, the Buddha taught that it's human nature, it's our human nature
to seek to blame the causes and conditions. So we can blame politicians, right? We're using racial and economic, religious differences to divide the nation, to distract people from the world as it is, for political power. And this is just how it works. Whatever side you may be on, it's all about political power. The extraordinarily wealthy, the bazillionaires, whose insatiable and all-consuming greed continue to drive economic inequality across the nation, across the world. The haves and the have-nots. I mean, I remember this from the 60s. The haves and the have-nots. When I was a kid, we were talking about this stuff. So the media, both news and entertainment media, they know that conflict sells advertising space and focuses on the drama of hate, confrontation, and violence. Protests, people getting shot, tear gas, film at 11. Right before 11 o'clock, what kind of commercials are they showing you? Because they know you're tuning in to see the video of violence. It's a classic in PR. When you start retraining in public relations, they talk about fires. Because if they have film of a fire, you're going to see that. Film at 11 on the news, which creates this image in your head of violence, political violence, any kind of violence. I mean, social media, you could not avoid the video of Charlie Kirk being shot on camera and being killed. I mean, this is as much violence as you can't escape it. This is kind of the point. And again, the whole system is designed to do this because the influencers who know that extreme, whatever extreme may be, it sells on social media. That's how they get money. That's how they get paid. And so they seek to exploit tragedy and provoke violence. And to normalize suffering. Well, suffering is normal. Everybody dies. As long as it's not me, that's a good thing. For personal fame and fortune. This is the American way. I want to be famous. I want to be rich. And I don't mind doing it by exploiting tragedy, violence. Because it's about me. So we try to blame easy access to guns or easy access to violent imagery and language in the media, pornography, that focuses on racial, sexual, gender, and identity stereotypes. We focus on scapegoating. We have this unfiltered ability to hate, to express hate, to provoke hate, without any real-world consequences. And this is social media, right? And I can go on the phone and say, that person is an idiot. That person should die. And there's really very little consequences. Although some employers are now firing employees for their comments on social media, which is a separate debate. The First Amendment protects free speech from government interference, not what happens in the private or the business world. So an employer can do whatever they like, basically. Now, if the government starts coming after it, that's the violation of the First Amendment, which we, sadly, we do see. So in the real world, though, and we all live in the real world, all of these causes and conditions can and should be addressed, really, if America is going to live up to its values, its aspirations, its dreams. So the long-term solutions is going to take a shared commitment to doing what's right for all people, not just certain groups of people, through civil discourse, through discussion, deliberation, and working together to fix the breaches in our society. So in the meanwhile, as Buddhists, should we rise up and protest and make our voices heard that hate in any form, violence against anyone and anything, and discrimination against any person is unacceptable? Yes, we should do that. As Buddhists, should we participate in the democratic process and make our voices heard by our political and government leaders? Yes, as Buddhists, we should do that. As Buddhists, should we vote? And should we encourage other people to vote? Yes, of course. Now, will making our voices heard, will our protests, our resistance, our passion change the world? We'll try to do something, make us feel better, even if it doesn't produce any immediate results. The very realistic and very Buddhist answer is, of course, maybe. It's a very unsatisfactory answer. As Americans, we want yes or no, true or not true, and true or false. Solve the problem or don't solve the problem.
So then, in this situation, it's very easy, it's very human to convince ourselves to do nothing, to care about nothing, to say nothing. As Shin Buddhists, as Zhuge Xinshu Buddhists, honorable friends and fellow travelers on the path of Nembutsu, we try to balance the real world, the secular world, this world of human confusion and delusion that we live in. Try to balance that with the world of spiritual truth. Spiritual truth. So the heart of compassion, the mind of non-discrimination. So as Buddhists, we go to the Dharma for guidance. Zhuge Xinshu, the founder of Zhuge Xinshu, Shinran Shonin, he lived, not everybody knows the full story, but he lived during a time of great social upheaval, political upheaval, civil wars, breakdown of the class structure, pandemics, and famine. This was the shift from the imperial government, from the emperor running everything, to the shoguns, the warlords running everything. There was internal civil war. The warlords were fighting each other. The central government, the emperor could do nothing, etc., etc., etc. So if you look at your Japanese history, this is the big turning point, from the imperial system to the period of warring states to the Tokugawas, who ran Japan for 400 years. Now, Zhuge Xinshu Honganji, how we were affiliated with the Tokugawas, which is why we became the dominant form of Buddhism in Japan for 400 years. Little trivia, you can talk to Honganji ministers about this kind of stuff, and they go, oh, you can study. So, again, Shinran is writing, all of the truth that Shinran writes about is during this time that's very, very similar to what we see now, here in America. Right? Everything seems to be breaking down. There's these great changes, social changes, are happening right in front of our face. So, in this situation, when Shinran reflects upon himself, when he reflects on his faith, when he looks at the real world of the 12th and 13th centuries in Japan, he realizes this. Quote, I know nothing at all of good or evil, for if I could know thoroughly, as Amida Tathagata knows, that an act was good, then I would know good. If I could know thoroughly, as the Tathagata knows, that an act was evil, then I would know evil. But with a foolish being full of blind passions in this fleeting world, this burning house, all matters, without exception, are empty and false, totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true and real. The wisdom of Shinran Shonin, not only that. So this is a quotation from a record and lament of divergences. You can find this in the collected works of Shinran, page 679. So in modern language, what is he trying to teach us? He's saying there's secular truth. Right? There's moral good and evil in the sense of Judeo-Christian sin against the laws of God. There's ethical truth. Right? So what we all agree as human beings, what is right and what is wrong. And then there's the legal context, right? I mean, if you break the laws of society, the police come and arrest you and throw you in jail. So there's legal and illegal, right? Defined by the laws created by human society. And then there's spiritual truth, which is separate from the secular world, separate from the real world. So in this passage, Shinran's referring to karmic good and evil, not moral good and evil. And so not whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, but rather what consequences, what karmic consequences result from this action. Is it beneficial or not beneficial? And so that's the difference. So Shinran's urging us to recognize that we are the foolish beings, full of blind passions. We're full of hate, we're full of anger, greed, ignorance, and the other 108 blind passions. We're just simply ordinary human beings living in a modern world. So we're easily led. It's so easy to hate people who are different than us. We're compulsively driven by our self-centered greed. It's about me. It's about me. And we willfully ignore the Dharma. The Buddha is telling us this 2,500 years ago. Right? Hate versus love. The truth was this right in front of us, and yet we tend to ignore it. So in this fleeting world, this burning house, all matters without exception are empty and totally without truth and sincerity. The Nembutsu alone is true. So everything you see out in quote unquote the real world, everything you see on your screens, from a small screen, cell phone, to a medium-sized screen, your iPad, to a big screen, the big high-definition monitor you use on your computer, to YouTube on your big screen TV. Everything is empty and false. Everything we see in the real world is empty and false. As a former advertising guy, I can tell you, everything that advertising shows you is empty and false. Totally without truth and sincerity. That's a different discussion. So, Shinran says only the Nebutsu is true and real. So, Shinran's not saying that the real world is irrelevant to our lives. I mean, we live in the real world. Shinran is not saying turn your back on suffering or disengage from the real world. Don't even worry about it. Don't get involved. And Shinran is simply saying, receive the faith of Shinji, of the entrusting heart, and then share that faith with others, which is what the scroll, the calligraphy at the top of the center of the temple part says. Jishin, Kyo, Ninshin. So, first, sow your own faith, and then teach that faith to others. So this is Shandao in the 5th century. He's the 5th of the 7 Pure Land masters. The calligraphy was done by Monshu Kojun Hotani, who's the current chief priest, the younger gentleman on the right there. So again, that's what Shinran's saying. You must sow your own faith first. So having sowed your own birth into the Pure Land, you're free to change the real world. Think of that. Knowing that this real world that we live in, it's fleeting, it's transient. It's a burning house. Everything, without exception, all matters without exception, or without truth and sincerity. So, historical fact, Shinran and his great teacher, and many, many disciples and followers of Jodo Wei, the Jodo Shu, they were persecuted, they were punished, and exiled by the government. And they were prompted to do this by the established Buddhist schools who didn't like Jodo Shinshu rising to dominance. And so they told the emperor, that's not real Buddhism, it's heresy. And so the government banned the practice of the Nembutsu, which gives the potential for liberation to everyone, not just the rich and powerful, which is the difference. And so he's stripped of his priest license, he's given a name that immediately identifies him as a convicted criminal. And imagine if your name, you have to have an ID that says, I'm a convicted felon. I mean, that's what his name said, and everyone in Japan who saw that name, oh, he's a convicted criminal. He's exiled to a remote area, far from the life that he previously had at Kyoto. He comes from a noble family, he was living in a monastery. Kyoto was the center of power in Japan. And yet, he continues to teach, to share the truth that he found, and not only that, and to live this unrepeatable life to the fullest. So despite being punished by the government for spreading this teaching, he insists upon teaching, sharing it with everyone he encounters. And he becomes even more popular by doing this. So was he angry about his treatment of his great teacher, and himself and the other disciples? And there were 4 disciples who were executed. And this disparagement of the Pure Land way. Oh, that's not Buddhism. That's not Buddhism. You're a heretic. This is heresy. Of course he was angry. There are writings that Shinran wrote where he's very, very critical of the Buddhist establishment and the hypocrisy of the priests pushing for the ban on the Nebutsu teaching. And he talks about the execution of the 4 disciples and the exile of Honan himself. So in fact, the collected works of Shinran, Big Blue Book, which is all of the writings of Shinran, essentially, this is an academic defense of the doctrine of Jodo Shinshu. It is absolutely convincing evidence that Jodo Shinshu is real Buddhism, it comes from the words of the Buddha, etc., etc., etc. So, if you want to be a priest, you do have to memorize everything that's in here. It's kind of a challenge. But just to say that he spent his entire life after being exiled, 1, defending the teaching, 2, spreading the teachings wherever he went, and he became more popular in that time. So he devoted his life to sharing. Through his writings, his letters, and just meeting with people. And again, the key things, regardless of position, power, wealth, education, and social status. So the elites of Japanese society said, no. So he says, and says, oh yeah, watch this. And he goes out and spreads the teaching even further. There's all kinds of interesting anecdotes about that. So with Shinran, if he was here today, would he react in anger, with hatred, and seek to blame the other for the challenges we face in our world today? No, Shinran would not. He would simply rely on the faith of Shinjin, non-Momidabusu, and continue to share the path of the Nembutsu, mindfulness of the Buddha. He would continue to change the world in his own way. Me, on the other hand, I'm a different story. I'm a third generation California-born Sanse, Japanese American. I grew up in Los Angeles in the 1960s. So my very human instinct is to react to today's political rhetoric, the political violence, the hate that's being espoused by our politicians, by the media, by influencers. I want to respond back with my own hatred, my own violent thoughts, my own violent words, my own violent actions. Resist, protest, overthrow the government. You have to be careful saying things like that nowadays. But realistically, I know I don't have the skills, I don't have the energy, I don't have the passion to organize resistance, political resistance, and revolution against the President of the United States of America. But my ego is such that trying to do that might make me feel better for having trouble. Would my individual efforts, solve the fundamental human problem of human nature? People hate each other. People hate people because we're different. We're different. And thus we make them the other. We blame them for everything. No. Guided by Shinran's wisdom, we must first recognize that we have our own aversions, biases, and prejudices. It's our human nature to fear and thus hate the other because we're different than us. So we must learn that the only thing to hate is hate itself. So illuminated by Amida's light of infinite wisdom, the great compassion awakens our heart of compassion. And we seek to understand the other, to alleviate suffering of all people, to overcome hate with love. Embraced by kindness and gratitude in words, we must learn to strive, to return it by embracing others with kindness and gratitude. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. It's not easy to change the world, and it's not easy to change yourself. So by myself, just as I am, I may not make a difference in the world, but I have to try. So the strength and serenity to try and try and try again comes from truly accepting one's human limitations and at the same time experiencing the heart of compassion, the mind of non-discrimination, of a leader working in your unrepeatable life, in this real world that we live in. So when the heart of compassion and the mind of non-discrimination are awakened with us, we call this the faith of Shinjin. We have settled our birth into the pure land of becoming a Buddha. So we're empowered then, right, at the time we have left before we go to the pure land, we're empowered to live each moment of this unrepeatable life with strength and serenity, because we know without a doubt that the Nembutsu alone is true and enough. So one criticism of Jodo Shinshu is the apparent otherworldly focus. We're always talking about what happens after death. What's the afterlife? You go to the pure land. You become a Buddha, you return in oneness with Amida to guide others through this school. So one of the criticisms is that Jodo Shinshu and Ganji, we're not actively engaged in social justice in the real world, but rather we're just concerned about the afterlife. I would argue it's not necessarily true. Jodo Shinshu is vitally concerned with before death, but teaches to focus on before death, we have to settle the afterlife. So in other words, you have to settle your birth into the pure land by receiving the faith of Shinjin. So when you're not worried about what happens in the afterlife, you're free to do whatever you wish to do in the time that you have left before death. It's a very simple truth, but hard to accept. But it is the simple truth that Jodo Shinshu is the most difficult of difficulties to know without doubt that the answer is always not one of us. And so the essence of Shin Buddhism as taught by Shinran Shonin is the faith of Shinjin, kindness and gratitude beyond words, transforming our all too human hearts and minds, and so that we can become empowered to respond in gratitude, to be grateful for everything that happens in this unrepeatable life, just as it unfolds naturally, just as we. So if you want to summarize it, the answer is always not one of Davidson, and if that's too complicated, just say mahalo. So, mahalo for listening this morning, and may your day be filled with aloha. No. Okay, back to MCs.
Let's all chant the Metta Sutta, the loving kindness sutra, together.
May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May I be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to me. May I live in peace and harmony. May my family be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my friends be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my teachers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May strangers be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May my enemies be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony. May all beings be happy and well. May no harm or difficulties come to them. May they live in peace and harmony.
Please rise if you are able, and let's sing the Om Yokum song, which will be found in the screen. Please remain standing and let's sing the Nembutsu, which will be found on the screen. Om we will now lead us in gratitude meditation.
Please be seated.
You can sit down. Oh, would you like to do a standing meditation? Please be seated. So once again, we'll sit together quietly for a few moments. So just relax, get comfortable. If you're able, sit forward in your seat, place both feet on the ground. Sit up straight, align your head, neck, shoulders, and back in a straight line that goes down to the floor. And place your hands comfortably in your lap. Now close your eyes halfway, so you're looking both outwardly and looking inward. And just breathe. Breathe in, and breathe out. Breathe in, and breathe out. As you breathe in, think of something for which you are grateful. And as you breathe out, just say mahalo. Just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Just breathe. The sound of the gong will signal the end of our quiet meditation.
Thank you very much for joining our Dharma family service today. May your day be filled with aloha. Are there any announcements that anyone would like to make?
Minister always says something to say. So next Sunday, September 28th, we'll be having a regular Dharma family service. October is just around the corner. So yes, get your costumes ready for the All Sangha Sunday Fun Day on October 26th. So we're going to combine the costume parade and the trunk or treat, which we used to do outside, but it's a little bit too complicated and can get pretty warm too. So we're going to do it inside this year. So combine everything on this Sunday. We're going to invite everyone to come, so the scout troops and the cutback, judo club, etc., just to try to make it as fun as possible. And let's see, was it October 5th and October 12th? Sharon and Floyd are going to be traveling somewhere. I forget, it slips my mind where they're traveling. So they won't be here. So if you have any volunteers to help run the service, please let me know. Let's see. So I guess that means we're not having Dharma school. Anyway, we'll have to confirm all this. Sorry. But anyway, just get ready for Halloween. That should be fun. We just had Peace Day yesterday. So everyone who came to Peace Day yesterday, thank you so much. Special shout out to Marilyn and to Jean for all of your help putting it together. This place was packed for the interfaith gathering, and then the activity table. This way, like 6 or 7 activity tables. It was pretty crowded. And again, to give a shout out to Pukalani Superette for sponsoring the food, which is quite amazing. And there's lots of leftovers, so you get to sample that again. And then tomorrow the 22nd, 8:30 in the morning, is Ring the Bells for Peace Day. So if you'd like to join, it's a live stream. I believe there's going to be thousands of people on this live stream. They shifted it to the Monday so that kids in schools could participate. So the different preschools, different schools, and different temples, different organizations will be ringing the bells at about 8:30 in the morning. It's pretty fun. So if you want to come, ring a bell if you have one. If you don't, we have plenty in the back. So just show up and we'll have some fun.
The opening invocation is going to be delivered by Reverend Janet Morrell, who's one of the members of the Interfaith Alliance. We're going to be broadcasting that from here, so we'll figure out how to do that. And then there's one last thing to introduce Hillary. So, hi Hillary. To say hello. She is the president of the Hana Buddhist Temple Preservation Society. And so she and her colleagues are directly responsible for the beautiful restoration of the Hana Buddhist Temple, which is the former Hana Honganji. I was just there for the Bombas opening. It looks great. The temple looks great. So thank you to Hillary. And if you have a chance to travel here, so please say thank you. Because it was in pretty bad shape when I first went there 7 years ago. And now it's like, no, it's totally usable as a temple. So, and as a community space. So thanks to Hillary. Okay. I think that's it. Anybody else have any announcements? No.
So Jean's giving me the top. It's okay to write this up.
No, she didn't do that. So everyone's welcome to enjoy refreshments, talk story in the social hall. We'll see you out there.